Hey, welcome back to the barn here in Pittsfield, Vermont, SpartanUpPodcast.com. I've got Dr. Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, very nice.
Nice.
Colonel Nye, the military guy.
guy.
We've got Sephra, the medicine woman.
Yeah, kind of sounds like Mallelollo. Oh, that's the
And we got Joe DeSena, who needs no introduction. I'm Johnny Waite. Behind the camera is Marion, our guru producer. And in front of the camera on this one is a guy named, first name Austin Malleolo. Really interesting, cool guy. CrossFitter. He talks about where he went from nothing to CrossFit
elite status,
super elite status. And but the really cool thing you're going to find out in this, I'm not going to tell, but just he was a badass youth, got in a lot of trouble. He got sent away into the wilderness to get things back on track, and it's a pretty incredible story about what he learned. And
there's one moment and there's one sentence that changed everything, and so it was very interesting for me to learn that moment and how you can take somebody that's going in the wrong direction and put them in the right direction.
Yeah, and what it takes to turn that around. Yeah, so cool. Let's go look at it.
All right, we are here with Austin Malleolo. Did I nail that?
Close.
Italian.
Yes.
All right, here at Reebok CrossFit 1 in Canton, Mass.
Yep.
And you're the head trainer here.
Yeah, this is my home.
You're a level 1, level 2, level...
level 3, yeah.
Nice.
Level 3 trainer, yeah.
Is that the best?
There's actually a level 4, but the only way to have a level 4 now is to have done the old level 2 back in the day. So once the level 4 gets launched, I'll hopefully be able to...
You got to grab it right away.
That's the goal.
You got to have it.
Yeah.
And then you have your own CrossFit gym, not too far away from here.
Yeah, right down the road in Needham. Yeah, CrossFit One Nation.
Nice.
So.
And then you're also a CrossFit competitor.
Yeah.
You just qualified again for the 5th.
Yeah, my 5th CrossFit Games as an individual. Yeah.
So how the hell do you manage all of that? Like running a business, coming here and train? Because every time I come here, you're training.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're training yourself. So what do you do? You don't sleep?
Yeah, right. It's balance is one of those words that I struggle with. It's like you said, CrossFit's a part of my life, and it's what I do. I mean, I work for CrossFit on the weekends. I travel around and do seminars, and I run the gym here. And in the mornings and nights, I'll run over to CrossFit One Nation and make sure that we're doing what we need to do over there. And I always say that when I feel like it's a job, I'll stop doing it.
Right.
I love what I do, and it's a passion, and it's fun, and every day I'm invigorated to just do what I'm doing, and that's what allows me to do it. And it's not work. It's a hobby that's dubbed a job.
Do you need an alarm clock, or you just wake up?
Yeah, wake up. Yeah, never set an alarm clock.
Nice. What time are you up in the morning?
Between 5 and 5:30.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
you're up.
Yeah.
You sit up straight, ready to go.
Oh yeah, you get up and I'm a routine guy. I have my routine, and I sometimes get the most work done before 7 o'clock. Make a cup of coffee, and then I'll just get stuff done. But when it's quiet and I can just my mind is as clear as it can be.
So you always like this? I mean, because we're trying to define with this podcast, what is it that makes somebody successful? What are those attributes? Can they be learned, or are they born?
Yeah. Gosh. It's my life it's sort of like it's massive ups and massive downs. And growing up, you could say I was a disgruntled youth, if you will. And
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in upstate New York area, just outside of Poughkeepsie, Millbrook area, and just like a lot of kids, grew up in a product of a divorced family, and then from there just went down the path of trying to find different ways to outlet how I felt, and it ended up me getting arrested, getting shipped away. I actually got shipped away to I guess you consider it I was in the woods for 2 months. So
what age were you then?
I was 17 at that age, so shipped away right before my senior year of high school. I was out in the middle of the Uintas in Utah, and the desert out there in Utah, just hiking about 11 miles a day with a backpack, and they drop food off every week for you to hike with. And from there, after 2 months, I went down to Virginia to a school there for 2 years, and left campus about 5 times in 2 years. And
just trying to break out.
Yeah, well, no, like you weren't allowed to leave.
Oh,
yeah, like you couldn't. Yeah, so you were on campus for 2 years there, and and then graduated from there, went to school when I was going up to college, and again, wrong place, wrong time. Got kicked out of college for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and hanging out with the wrong type of people.
Were you obviously you were fit when you were doing 11 miles a day in the woods?
Yeah, I was up.
That was forced fitness.
Yeah, but it was funny. Like growing up, it was I played hockey, football, and lacrosse, and that, my dad told me, he's like, son, you're never going to be the biggest guy in the field. I've been 5'5" for a while.
Right.
And I saw him one day just do like 75 push-ups, and I was like, and then I tried to do 75 push-ups and got nowhere near that. And so that's actually what I'll never forget, that moment when he said you gotta work harder than everyone, because you're not going to be the biggest, you're not going to be the most talented. And I took that as the truth, and I just started working out a lot, and whatever it may be. And I became the gym rat, because that's all I knew at the time. And that's the moment. If you ask what was the impetus behind,
But was that pre getting shipped off?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
before all that. I mean, I remember being out in the woods, and I would wake up and I would just do push-ups with my pack on. And one time I was in the desert and I stepped on a cactus. It was awful, But so I remember doing all that. And even when I was down in Virginia at that school, I remember, like we did this thing where if you did something bad, you actually had to like clean the whole campus. They called them crews at night, but you actually had to run. So after dinner, you'd change your clothes into sports clothes, and then for about an hour and a half, you'd take the trash and you'd have to run it was crazy. If you pull back, and it's the most insane thing I ever thought about, but like every building had like water bottles, and they were called, blueies, we called them. Just like the ones you stick into the offices.
Yeah.
And you had to like run those and disperse them around campus. And
the garbage you had to remove.
The garbage, and then you had to clean everything, and you always had to be running in place. So if you were like cleaning a table, you had to be running in place while cleaning the table. And I remember like I became the head of that event, and because I was like, this is great.
Right.
You get to work, and obviously there are some jobs you didn't want to do, but I remember like how many of the blueies could you carry, and then you time yourself how fast you could go, because it was a pretty big campus. So I remember doing things like that, and learning a lot about myself in that time. But
Sure.
But I was always a bit of a nut job when it came to
fitness.
Most people are like, I hate that. I don't ever want to do that. I was like, I'm going to run this thing. So.
Nice. And then that stuck with you, and then you got into CrossFit.
Yeah. So ironically enough, life works in mysterious ways. When I got kicked out of school, I came back home to around Poughkeepsie area, and I was working construction for about 5 or 6 years, in between summers and whatnot. And
Which must have felt good, because you love the fitness stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I loved,
Right.
I like building things and making things. It was fun, and I learned a lot. And I also got, I was going to school for exercise science, so I got a personal trainer certificate throughout that time. And so when I was working construction, I would just apply at all sorts of gyms to be a trainer, and one place bit, and I started to train there. So I moved from construction to training, and I'll never forget, it was at that gym where one of the other trainers, you got to try this CrossFit thing. I was like, sure. He was like one of the veteran trainers. You listen to him. And I did the workout called Fran, 21-15-9 thrusters and pull-ups. And I was like, 95 pounds is light, and 5 minutes later, my head's in a garbage can. I'm throwing up, just what I needed at the time, and
Sure.
it buried me. And that's when I found out about it. 2 days later, I opened up 2 credit cards so I could pay for my seminar, and I downloaded every journal article that the CrossFit Journal had, and that was the start. So
You were hooked.
I was hooked, and then from there, I went back up to school about 6 months later to finish my degree, and I was living in Syracuse, and that's where I was actually, my first CrossFit gym I went to was up there, CrossFit DeWitt, and I would go to school twice a week, and then I would train and do CrossFit the rest of the week.
You just fell in love with it.
Yeah, it was like most of my life I was an all or nothing type of guy, and thank God I found CrossFit at that time in my life, because I went all in, and went to all the seminars I could, read every article I could, and that's when there's this movie, Every Second Counts. It was a documentary of the 2008 CrossFit Games, and I watched that. I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do,
Right.
and
It was like carrying the blueies.
Right, yeah, I was like, this is great, and I showed my girlfriend, my now wife, and she goes, whatever, and I would watch that every day, like a kid watching, Disney movies on repeat, and that's what I was like, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games next year. And I remember I bought the program from the 2009 Games, because that's when I started to, follow it, and I kind of started following the athletes, and then that was what I started training for.
And when was the first games you went? 2010?
Yeah, 2010.
How'd you do?
I was my best finish actually ever. I finished 6th that year.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Congrats.
Yeah, that was a good year. It was one of those, again, just I kind of looked around. I was like, how did I get here? And then 3 days later, the dust settled, and probably one of the biggest events of my life, because I met a lot of people that are now some of my best friends, and met a lot of people at CrossFit, so it's pretty cool.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
But you had, I mean, that wasn't the first success, right? Because you got through school, even though you went off track.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you kept nailing some things, even though you were off track. You kept coming back.
Yeah, when I got kicked out of college, I think it was one of the biggest. That was a big turning point in my life, because that's the first time I think I realized for me that I was in complete control of everything I did. Who I hung out with, what I did, who I was with, what I said, everything was my fault. And I realized that at that moment, that I had no one else to blame, and that I was in control of everything I did, and who I was around, and all of those decisions were my own. And I told myself at that moment in time that I will never put myself in a position that I couldn't control. That's what I told myself, and because it.
Was that somebody talking to you, or you just realized it?
It was me realizing, because I looked back over my life, and I realized that I could have avoided a lot of the BS that I put myself through, and I was embarrassed. There's a lot of emotions around it where, at that moment in time, that no matter what the reason being, whether it was right or wrong, it happened, and I had to tell people that, and I never wanted that feeling again. And it was one of those moments where when people ask me, like, so I don't really drink anymore. People are like, why don't you? I'm like, because I don't find any value in it. I spent a lot of my life doing stupid things, and that was a part of what I was doing when I was being stupid, and that's why I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I got nothing against it. It's just because I want to be in complete control of myself at all times, and that's something I can control. And
so we are two people that have the same opinion on that subject.
Yeah, it's.
So we're a minority.
Yeah, and that's what I.
Especially in Boston.
Oh yeah, most places. And that's just. It derives from that belief of I want to be in complete control of who I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm saying at all times, because I made enough mistakes early on.
Well, you understood accountability at that moment in time.
Yeah.
How you became accountable.
Yeah. And
not everybody has that wake-up moment.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's...
you got lucky.
I did, and I usually, I equate a lot of it to my father and my dad, who stuck by me, and he's the one who sent me away. He's the one who sent me to that school, who stood by me through all of my BS. And I pull back and I often think to myself, like, how did you not just kick me to the curb and say you're an idiot after the fourth or fifth time? And it's one of those things where if there's someone that has been a role model for me throughout my whole life, is him. And I always think people are always like, oh, like, when are you going to have kids? And I always tell myself when I'm ready. Because if I can be as half as good as father as my dad was, I need to be prepared for that.
There's been some studies done recently that everybody needs somebody in their corner.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what you had. You had somebody in your corner, thick and thin.
And I met a lot of people when I was in the woods and down in Virginia. I met a lot of people that didn't have that, and I can't tell you. When we were with them, when we were down in school for a couple of years, and it was amazing how happy they were. And then I get a phone call a year later that they killed themselves.
Wow.
Or they're not doing so well. And if I were to say what's the common denominator, they didn't have
that person in the
that
corner.
Or that person was no longer with them.
The amazing thing about that is people are willing to go in your corner. You just got to ask.
Yeah.
Like, people want to be mentored. I'm sure you'd mentor anybody that asks, as long as they're willing to put the time in. And
yeah.
Right.
And it's just having those people, but. Asking's hard, because then you're vulnerable.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you have a CrossFit class. It looks like that's about to start.
Yeah, they're coming in. They're trying to be quiet, but most CrossFitters aren't quiet.
Let's talk one more second. You're going to the games in the next 30 days.
Yeah, within about a month or so.
Tell us about your training. What are you doing leading up to that?
Pretty much everything. So classic CrossFit. What you normally see in any CrossFit gym, but then plus anything outside of the gym. So we'll be running up mountains, running in the ocean, running on the beach, getting a lot more of the world outside of the gym, because the CrossFit Games generally tests your athleticism. It tests how well can you apply what you've done all year into other things. Where we just see perennially, gosh, a lot of games I've been to, we've swam in the ocean, we rode a bike, and we ran up a mountain. Sure. And you pick up objects, throw them on your shoulder, and you run with them. Yeah, you got to still be able to do your pull-ups and your muscle-ups and be really good at that. But you have to be able to apply it to everything. And how far can you throw something? How far can you jump? All of those things are application of your fitness. So that's what you do now, and you have to train a little more too, because you're going to do more in a day, so your volume goes up a little bit as well.
So what tip would you give someone out there that's hoping someday, like you did in 2010, to get into the what would you suggest?
I get that question a lot, and I tell everyone the same thing. Follow CrossFit.com for a long time. That's what I did. And do it with people that are better than you.
Right.
And when you can do that, every workout that comes out of CrossFit.com with ease, now you can start to add extra stuff in. But when I first started, that was, you want to do CrossFit, you follow CrossFit.com, and then over the time you start to add more and more in, but it takes time. And I think a lot of people see the end state and like, I want to get there in a year. It's a different game.
Sure.
And you have to build yourself up, or else you'll break yourself down before you're able to build yourself up. But
it's a long game.
Yeah, it is, and the sport's only getting more advanced, and the depth is only getting deeper, and people have been doing this for years now, and you're seeing it. People have been training for 2 or 3 years, and now just making it to the CrossFit Games, and that's 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
That's just not 6 months. Where, 6 years ago when I first started, a lot of people are starting out new. It's a different sport now.
I want to show the video of what got you into this year's games. Can you describe what happened there?
Yeah. So a little backstory is last year I didn't make the CrossFit Games, and the big driving force was behind that is I had a third lift, which was a snatch, and I missed it. So for about 364 days, I've had that thought on my mind that I should have made that lift, and I didn't, and that kept me from going last year. And so this year, ironically enough, the snatch came back. And what do you do when you're not good at something? You get better at it. And I snatched probably every single day of my life until
since that.
Yeah,
right.
Getting better at that stuff. And I had to make a lift. And
you had walked on your hands.
Yeah. So the event was you had to pretty much walk 250 feet as fast as you could
on your hands.
And I was able to come in second overall in that event. So in about 90 seconds, which was good for me. And then you rested about 1 minute and 40 seconds, and then you had 2 attempts to do a 1 rep max snatch. So, I knew my first attempt was going to be 225, and I actually missed my first attempt, but you could hit it again. You had a 20-second window, and I hit it. That was a big relief. And then from there, I needed to jump. My original plan was 245 pounds, because that's a big lift for me, but I knew I could do it. In the tunnel right before I went out, I heard a bunch of people hitting 245. I was like, well, I got to hit 246, because what's the sense of tying people? You got to beat them. And so I put 246 on, and
What was going through your head?
To be honest with you, I think I blacked out. It's one of those things where, it's when a culmination of an entire year. You put your hands on the bar and you go through your setup, and it's just one moment. Yes, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about. And I just said, you just put your life into the bar at that moment. Right. And I hit it. I stood up with it, and I looked at my judge to make sure, I wanted to see every this was good. And then after that, it's just like I was literally the happiest I've ever been in any level of competition, because the lift was great, but it's what led up to the lift. And then I looked up and I saw the whole crew, that everyone was there supporting me, and they were all fired up, and it was and then apparently I jumped. I think I PR'd my vertical leap. I don't think I'll ever jump as high in my life, but
I saw the video. It was awesome.
Yeah,
and we're gonna play it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was that if there's anything, it wasn't a lot of weight compared to everyone else, but to me, it's what I needed to do, because if I hit 245, I wouldn't have gone to the game.
Really? It was 1 pound.
Yeah. So
nice.
1 pound does matter.
Had you not heard everybody in the tunnel, would you have chosen 245?
I don't know. I don't know. But that's part of competitions. You have to be aware of others.
Sure.
So.
Good stuff. That was awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, good luck. What do you guys think? Do you like him?
Yeah, I like that guy a lot. The documentary he referred to, that he saw every second counts, that's what got me into CrossFit, which got me into shape coming down to your races. And he ended up 6th in the world, like the CrossFit Games. That's the real deal. I know some really, really strong, awesome athletes. They might go to the regionals, but I personally don't know anyone other than him who's been to the games. So he's the real deal. But the cool thing about it is he sort of carved his way there, right? Like, he wasn't on the right track. He's not a big guy. He jokes about, I'm never going to be the tallest, I'm never going to be the strongest. But he probably works the hardest. Yeah, exactly.
Persistence.
What'd you think about his rough and tumble youth there, where he got thrown around? And
I personally identified. I don't want to make it sound like I was as far gone as he was, probably, but but I wasn't a model citizen at that age myself. So,
Well, you were living in biker bars or something.
yeah, well,
right?
I used to own one, but
Really?
yes, and before I joined the Marine Corps, I had a few arrests under my belt and the rest of that kind of stuff, for fighting and a lot of those kind of things. But I never had to go off into a school, as he called it, out into the wilderness to kind of get my head right.
Well, you did it in the military.
That's
Right,
right. Yeah.
but I mean, exactly. But listen, so he's talking about he's out there and he's got to survive by his own, and they're dropping in the stuff. So he's basically doing an adventure race kind of thing, or having one of these vision quests that you talked about later. But it didn't seem like even that got his attention fully, because then he talked about later having to go to another school down in Virginia. And I really love where he talked about having to run to clean the tables, and you run in place, and then you run to do whatever. And I was wondering if that school still exists or where it is, because you should go visit. You know,
I know.
They'd love to have you down here, but
I would love a school like that.
Something finally got his attention.
Durance hospitality.
Something, like you said.
Well, it was that one moment, right, where he said, "Hang on a second, I'm accountable." Because I think when we're not having the best of luck, whoever we are, we tend to blame it on something else, right?
Yep.
But he became accountable for whatever reason at one moment, and that's what changed everything.
Yeah. He realized that he's responsible for everything that happens.
Yeah.
And even if something happens that wasn't what he planned, he's also fully responsible for how he reacts to that, and that he actually had an active part in everything. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you said earlier, we talked about responsible, and you said the ability to respond. And that's the difference when you become a real actualized human being, is you realize that you're able to respond, not react, but I'm going to choose my response to everything that happens to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys here? You obviously watched this story of this last regionals where he's trying to get into this year's CrossFit Games.
Yeah, incredible. The 1 pound.
He needed 1 pound extra and didn't know if he can get it, and he had failed. He said he failed last year, and he was not going to fail again. And he said for that second, he's holding his breath, his heart stops, and everything is dependent on whether he's going to get this up and over his head, and he does. And hopefully, Marion can figure out a way to edit this in, but he is jumping around doing backflips when he nails it.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting stuff.
That's cool.
Well, I mean,
nothing unusual for you. You're a gym rat.
No. Those guys are incredible. I can't. I've tried doing a couple of those things. I'm too.
No,
old
but I mean,
to
like if you're bench pressing 350, 450, whatever it is you knock out.
Where do you come up with these things? Where do you come up with these things? It's incredible to me. My birthday will be coming up here soon.
Yeah.
And every year on my birthday, just so I stay consistent, I bench 300 on my birthday. That's kind of my. That's my.
That's the warm up.
No, I mean, again, it starts to hurt.
Could you do me a favor? Can you bench press 300 on my birthday as well? I'd really appreciate it.
Mine too.
So I mean, I've been above that, but not recently.
Yeah.
Recently being many years. So anyway, listen,
But-
you get that one moment and that pure focus, and he settles himself and he's able to do it. It feels great. I mean, it's like hitting a home run or dunking a ball. I mean, that's what he's focusing on, and that's what he accomplished. And that shot or that lift or whatever propelled him to the next level.
Well, he's in the games now,
right?
And we'll see how he's going to do any day here.
And what I love about Spartan Race and I love about some of the other events is it gets us out of the gym. So it's like take all those things you learned, that rope climb, that ability to run, throw, jump, and actually go do something with it. Mm-hmm. And so
activate it.
Yeah.
We like to test to see how you're living your life.
For show notes, video, and audio of this episode, visit SpartanUpPodcast.com/050. Thank you for listening to another epic story of success. Follow us on Twitter at SpartanUpPod. Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan Race.
Sign up for daily workout emails at Spartan.com.